Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and welcome back to another interview. This time I'm sitting down with Zoo, the studio head / lead developer and artist and animator for Berserk Boy, which is a modern retro platformer that is out now today on Steam and Switch. And rather than get too deep into the details myself, I'm just going to let him explain what this game is. Would you give me a quick elevator pitch for Berserk Boy?
For sure, yeah. So Berserk Boy is an action platformer. It's inspired by a lot of the genre greats from like Sega Mega Drive, Game Boy Advance, and like the SNES era, like games like Sonic and Mega Man, and also it's got Metroidvania elements, which encourages backtracking with a lot of show don't tell.
Yeah, I've been poking at that a little bit. I got the first fire move. I've only played a couple hours at this point. I got the fire drill, and I was like, okay, time to go back through every single level. You know, I only saw a couple of dig points, right? Yeah, I'll be able to 100% those levels. Nope. So that's been slightly agonizing for me, because, you know, the drive to go backwards is always just like, oh yeah, now I can go get all that stuff. Oh wait, no, I really should just like keep going a little bit further, get a couple more abilities, then go back. But I like that. That's a nice way of doing it, because, yep. I guess even in like Mega Man, there were some reasons to go back every once in a while of like, yeah, you needed this one power to get up to this secret boss or something.
Yeah, it's much more lighter. Like in terms, like saying it's a full-out Metroidvania isn't really correct. It's very like light. It's like how the X series would like introduce like different areas if you had a different like ability. So yeah, I guess yeah, it's quite light in terms of how it is, but yeah. There is a reason to like sort of it gives you a reason to sort of revisit stages.
Yeah. So I might as well make an assumption. I guess I already did when I sent you the questions yesterday, but it's pretty clear that Berserk Boy is influenced heavily by Mega Man. I was curious why specifically Mega Man.
No, yeah, that's a very valid question, and yeah, it wears its inspirations on its sleeve. But basically, I grew up with a lot of like Mega Man, Sonic, Pulse Man, Rocket Knight sort of stuff. And originally, Berserk Boy didn't actually look anything like resemble any Mega Man sort of things at the start. But as I kept like iterating on the design and I kept working on the project, it just sort of naturally formed into like stuff I liked personally. Like it just became more like looking like Mega Man and sort of structured like Mega Man. But one thing I do want to try do is make it not play like Mega Man. So
yeah, I noticed that immediately. I was like, it looks like Mega Man. It's got the vibes, it's got the energy, but I spent way more time dash attacking enemies than I did pretty much doing anything else, which felt actually really nice and very smooth. Whereas do that in Mega Man, you just get hit.
yeah, that's exactly it. It's just meant to be like a love letter, really, not like hey, I'm just going to make my own Mega Man game with the same thing. So, yeah, it's just comes out of a place of just like absolutely adoring the series my whole life.
So I guess I might as well ask within that, which Mega Man games? Because I played a lot of X. That's the only one I've beaten. I played a fair bit of X4, but I could never get past Jet Stingray's stage. Because I just didn't have the reflexes for those stupid pits. And then I only dabbled with the rest of the series. And so, do you have a favorite and like one that you specifically are like, yeah, this is kind of the angle I'm going for?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people also think Berserk Boy is like heavily inspired by the X series, and I really like Mega Man 8 and the Battle Network and Zero series the most.
Okay.
X is actually like my least, well, not my least, that's strong. I feel like I grew up watching my brother play the X series, so when I started playing like the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, I felt like those were like my Mega Man games opposed to like
sense.
Watching. Yeah, so those are the ones I'm most like attached to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I've played all of the first level of the Zero series, and I'm super bad at it.
Yeah, that Zero number 1 is a strange game. I think that the level design is all over the place. Like death spikes are just like everywhere, and it's just very difficult. But I think it gets a bit smoother as they like make the sequels and stuff.
I'll have to play them at some point, but I say that about like literally everything.
Yeah, dude, I bet your backlog is crazy.
I have a list of games that I like. I'm calling it the list of unmissable games that I just like want to specifically highlight in some way, shape, or form. It's like 300 games at this point. I have no idea how I'm going to get through it. And that's not including like the thousands of other games in my library that I'm like, yeah, I might play that again at some point. So I guess more specifically for Berserk Boy, you have Bird as kind of like a central sidekick character. Fior.
Fiore. It should have a little line on top. Yeah, but it's actually Fiore.
Gotcha. I'm terrible at accent marks. I just see it and I'm like, that's a letter. I don't know.
No, I didn't. That's on me. I didn't put the accent mark on there. It should be on there. So that's on me.
So was the bird kind of like a right from the get-go, I want to have a bird companion, or did you have like no companion for a while, or was it something different?
This is like a good. This is the first time someone's ever asked me about the bird, so it's a good question. The bird went through a few iterations. It was always a bird. First, it was going to be like a mechanical bird that followed you, sort of like Rush. And then it was a much larger, like sort of eagle. And then it was like, yeah, that looks kind of strange. And then it just kind of like shrunk down to Fiore, that like a smaller version of a bird. So it went through iterations, but yeah, it was always like some sort of like flying thing. Because I always had like, weirdly enough, before Berserk Boy was Berserk Boy, there was going to be a lot of puzzle elements where you swap between the characters, and the bird would do like sort of navigating areas, like puzzle sort of areas in the stage where you'd like, fly up, dodge some, floating projectiles and like hit a switch, and then open the door for K to run through, basically.
Okay. So I guess follow up to that is, when did it kind of change? Because obviously there's some level of puzzle elements just in terms of navigating the stage, but it seems much more action and almost kind of speedrun focused now. And I guess you want to walk me through some of the development, like where did you start and where did you like say, okay, the puzzle elements aren't working, let's just focus on this?
Yeah, for sure. Like and I also feel like that's probably one of the hardest parts of development, is like noticing or realizing that something isn't fun even though you sunk hours into like making it happen. So Berserk Boy was a lot slower, and it was hand to hand. It had the dash mechanic, but it wasn't the central focus. It had a lot of punching and kicking, and the movement was a lot slower, and it was much more precise platforming. There did just come a time when it was like, why am I even punching and kicking when I can dash into things? And I'm literally dashing to not walk so slow. Like, maybe this isn't fun. I sent it to some close friends, and they did like sort of mirror the same things and just said, yeah, maybe this could. And then it was just like it took a long time. I'm sort of like cutting how long it took, but yeah, it was just like a moment of like maybe. And then it goes back to like it just like sort of became the things I love, like Mega Man and Sonic and Rocket Knight and all that stuff. Inspirations went into it, and I was like, yeah, maybe I should try just make something I really like, which is like speed and I like fast games. So yeah, just cut all the combat out and puzzles out, and the game instantly felt more fun. So I guess that was it. It was just cutting it out after people played it.
I normally don't go for speed games that often because, I like to be slow and plodding and careful, and Berserk Boy is like one of the first games where I'm like, yeah, it's actually kind of fun to just zip through all of this and then die, but I
hope not dying too much.
It's like 2 to 3 times per stage. It's usually like fall into a death pit or hit some spikes or do something stupid. I think one time I dashed into I'm just so glad that I don't have to worry about limited lives. That's the one big one. I saw that pop up as I started the game. I'm like, oh good, I can just go back to checkpoints, not have to worry about getting kicked back to the beginning level. I love old games. I love old games in kind of the Mega Man Sonic style. I do not like those days. I don't know. It was always unsatisfying being like, I did my best and now I'm out of lives. But usually farm for 99 lives.
Yeah, I feel like these days I can't even play an old game without like the save states or load states, and like that's the only way I can truly enjoy it now, because I just don't have the time to become amazing at learning everything about the game.
Yeah, I know that feeling. So, are you hitting that stage where it's more game development than playing games for yourself, or do you still take some time to play through stuff?
I'd say the latter half of development. Like I'd say like I picked up PlayStation 5 like I think 3 months ago, and I started playing games again. But it's very like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I'm actually only playing through like the Eastward expansion at the moment, and that's the only thing I've touched for like since it came out. And before that, I was playing Spider-Man. But yeah, I just can't play any games. So
yeah. So at this point, it's fully all hands on deck for Berserk Boy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's easing off now that we're only like at the time of recording, it's like 6 days away.
Yeah.
So it's like a different stress now. It's not like I should be working stress. It's like, oh my god, launches
anticipation,
in 6 days stress. Yeah.
So how long have you been working like full time on Berserk Boy? Because I tried it back in, was it 2021, 2022? I think it was 2022 that I played the first demo. But I know you were working on it since at least before 2020, because that was when you had some of your like initial coverage on the game up. So I guess, how long have you been working on this, and how long was it like, this is the game that I'm going to finish, and putting all your time into it?
Yeah, so, oh yeah, thanks for playing it before as well, I appreciate that. But that was like a super, like a rough version as well, I think, so yeah, thank you for giving it another chance.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, I think it's coming up to 5 years for working on Berserk Boy. And to answer like when it became the game I was going to work on, it was just so you know, I do like the pixel art and animation and stuff for the project. So it just became one of those things. Like I was excited to come home and like create more. I felt really inspired to just sit down and chip away at it. And normally that sort of drive runs out pretty quick, and I'll want to do something else. But yeah, I just felt like there was something I wanted to do with it. So that sort of like kept me going, kept me motivated. But I feel like the pieces really clicked when we had like a vertical slice which took out all the combat mentioned earlier, and then like there was a lot of like publisher interest, and it was sort of like, hey, maybe this could actually be like a job, and like maybe it could be more than just like something I'm doing in my spare time. So I'd say like 2 years into development, I think, or 3 years into development, it became at that it got to that point. Okay.
So you were working at another studio kind of during that period of time, or I guess during the early days of Berserk Boy?
I've worked on like multiple projects, but I haven't worked on like formally as in a studio. I've been like freelance contracted. So like I'm currently freelance on a couple of projects at the moment that haven't been announced. But that's just like for da monies.
Okay.
It's just like, yeah, that's that. But this is like, Berserk Boy is like my first actual like me
producing
like,
a
debut.
game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Let's see. I guess as part of that, saying that you were a pixel artist and animator, you picked up some programming too, right?
Yeah. So I programmed in other engines which weren't GameMaker. We use GameMaker Studio now.
Okay.
And then during development, it got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna have to start working in the code base, or it's just not gonna happen. I work with someone called Chris. He's worked part-time on the project, but he's worked, I'd say, I think for like 4 years on Berserk Boy.
Oh, wow.
And he's like takes the reign and the lead on the programming. And when I'm not, well, I probably do drive him crazy, but I'm just like, hey, this is like now my playground for getting good at programming. So I'm always like learning during the program. It's just good to like, it's just been good for me to like learn everything, really.
Yeah. So you're entirely self-taught in that regard then? Just like YouTube tutorials and online information, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did art at school, but none of those skills translated into like what I'm doing now. So, 100% YouTube and 100% just like staring at studying people's work who I really like, and then that's it, really. Yeah.
So you went to art school for like much more traditional art or illustration or something?
No, I did art as like a I don't know what you call it. Not a maid, like a sixth form. I don't know what you call it in America. Or sixth form's like like college, I guess.
Yeah.
It was like one of my subjects there.
Okay. For us in America, it's you major in like one field, and then you might have minors in like ethics or game design or something. So I did my major focus was illustration in college, and then I did a minor in game design, and then a concentration, which is even smaller, for ethics.
Oh,
but
amazing.
yeah,
dude, I didn't know you were also game dev sort of training as well.
So,
that makes things so cool.
I worked at a studio for exactly 1 year, got laid off, and then couldn't get a job in the industry. So eventually I was just like, oh, wait, no, all my bills are being paid by YouTube. I'm just going to stop applying for jobs. And so I almost became kind of a game dev artist kind of guy. But instead I ended up on the other side of the industry, I guess kind of more on the marketing side now.
Dude, that's really cool. It's weird how these things happen, right? Like, that's so weird. Really cool. Damn.
I guess on like my own end, I'm very glad I went to art school because I learned a lot of like marketing stuff, and then also I do all of my own like branding and illustrations and thumbnails and whatnot. I learned like a weirdly large amount of things. I was doing so at the studio I was doing thumbnails for SpongeBob Flash games online, and so I owed like it was mind-numbing work. I hated it. But I learned so much about how to make a good YouTube thumbnail purely from that era and working at that studio, and it gave me like such a huge boon. Did you really get that out of art school too, or is it much more just kind of like...
No, dude, I didn't get anything. So I ended up moving to... This is where my story gets fun. I ended up moving into law to study law.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I finished that course. I finished the degree. And then I did like a placement year at like a pro bono firm, and I was like, yeah, this is terrible. And that's when I like moved to Japan because I felt so uninspired.
So the Japan was just kind of like a Hail Mary, like I need to find something to do with myself. I'm moving to Japan to find out what that is.
Yeah, exactly that. I taught English originally. I didn't go there for the sole purpose of being a developer or anything.
Okay.
I just went there, like, I was gonna just go there for 1 year and come home, but then, yeah, I don't know, I just ended up moving into games, like, somehow.
It just gravitated towards it?
Yeah,
so
I guess so.
I guess that spirals into two questions. So, how long were you doing teach English as a foreign language in Japan? Because that was actually one of my, like, oh shoot, I can't get a job plans that I just never did. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's good. You know, I can't fault it. It's for the time I did it, I have no complaints. Sorry. I did it from 2016 to 2018, I think. So I was working on Berserk Boy whilst being a teacher as well. So yeah, it was good. It was a really good time. If you ever get, I mean, obviously you don't need to do it now, but yeah.
I'd still love to go to Japan for an enduring amount of time, but probably not to teach.
Yeah, no, definitely not. You can go on your hollybobs, just have fun instead.
Yeah. Let's see. So, what was I gonna say as part of that? So you just kind of fell into game design. I guess people don't normally do that casually. Was it just kind of like poking around in Game Maker, saying like, "Hey, I could make a thing for fun," or you just needed a hobby project and game design just was it?
It's difficult because I was working on a semi long-term project with my brother he doesn't work commercially in video games, but he also makes video games, and we were trying to make a Metroidvania for the longest time, and then I think it was, so I always wanted to make a game, but it was never like, the goal was never commercial, but I think it became commercial, and I was like, oh, I've got to go home back to England soon, and I do not want to work in a law firm. So it was just like, I want to really focus on this because I enjoy it and I want to make this my job, sort of vibe.
Makes sense. Let's see. Shoot, I had something and I've lost it. That's fine. Yep, nope. Unfortunately, I'm not a morning person and things just kind of disappear from my brain in the middle of that. But, so, oh, right, I know what it was. So was there like a specific visa limit, or why'd you go specifically back to the UK?
I went originally and I was on a 3-year teaching visa, and then they renewed it for another 3 years. So I managed to get 6 years in Japan. The reason I went back, me and my wife have to do some like paperwork here, and there's lots of like bureaucratic stuff that you've got to do, like visas and all that jazz. So it's just like a long process. Yep. And we thought, because I'm not like fluent in Japanese, it'd be much more comfortable if I was here talking to like government officials instead of in Japan.
Yeah, that makes a fair bit of sense. Okay. Let's see. I think that was it. Well, I guess, do we want to skip ahead, seeing as we are still talking about Japan? I have, for people listening to this, I have a list of questions, then the Japan part was the very end, but I don't know, might as well push it up. So, let's see. I guess, was it reasonably easy to work teaching English in Japan, or is that like a whole process and you had to jump through a lot of hoops?
I think well, there's obviously a few hoops prior, but I don't think it's anything too outlandish. Like you have to go to you do some online interviews, and then you go in person to do an interview. They set like a location, and then they have representatives go there, and then you do like a teaching day. It's super like manageable. I think you just have to like put a little bit of effort in, take it seriously, obviously, and then not as bad as it sounds, like moving to a foreign country. I don't think it was that bad.
Okay. Let's see. And I guess while you were there, were you really interacting with any like Japanese game developers, especially for the latter half, or is it mostly just like showing up to a couple of conventions and having some just generalized local friends?
Yeah, it was a mix of both, I think. I ended up getting quite a good group of friends who are game developers. I lived in Tokyo, so I had some friends in Tokyo who made video games, and there was quite a few meetups, which was nice. And then there's a few events in Kyoto, which has a lot of like expats living there as well. So I think it's fairly friendly for game developers. I think you just have to sort of like make the effort to mingle, I think.
Okay. I don't interact with a whole lot of developers based out of Japan, and generally I don't actually know of many like small indie games made by Japanese developers. There's like a handful, but I think that's mostly just my lack of looking for them as opposed to anything else. But I was always curious because, yeah, I haven't heard of much of like an indie scene out of there, whereas I know like Canada is practically hopping with indie devs, especially in like the Vancouver and Toronto areas.
Oh, big. Nice.
Yeah. Let's see. So, I guess other question before we move away from Japan is, having lived there for 6 years, you've probably tried like a wide variety of Japanese foods. Any that I should keep an eye out for? Because here we've got like udon, ramen, and sushi, and that's it. And I very much would like to try some authentic Japanese food that is not just those three things, but I never know what to look for.
How about yakiniku? I think yakiniku's origin's actually Korean, but they have a lot of those in Japan. It's like you grill meat on a table grill.
Okay.
Yeah, they just give you like loads of chunks of meat, and you just like whack it on the grill, cook it, and just like devour it with some rice. I mean, it's good if you go with a group of people, or obviously you can go by yourself as well. It's just like a good sort of like eating experience, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Now I've got to go back up and ask about Berserk Boy. So you said you were working with Chris. So I guess it's kind of a two-parter of, so how many people do you actually have working on Berserk Boy, kind of full and part-time? And like, has it been mostly you the entire time, you and Chris? I know you have a pretty big composer, and I'll ask about him in a second, but was there anybody else?
Yeah, so the project actually went from, I think at one point we had 6 people in total, like I'd say like the core team, like including illustrate, like the promotional art, illustration, the in-game cutscenes, sound effects, music, and if you include like voice talent as well, I think at one point I think it was like 20 people that
Wow.
were working on it. Yeah, when it adds up, like without you even knowing, it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just me and Chris at the moment. We've been working on it, and obviously like gunning towards the finish line. I think for the last like 2 or 3 years together as well. And yeah, at the moment I'm the only one working full time on the project, and then obviously if Berserk Boy does well enough, I'd love to get more people like to work full time. But yeah, at the moment, yeah, it's hard to get full time.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense. So I guess as part of like the 2 to 3 years thing, was the pandemic much of an influence on going like super full time on Berserk Boy, or was that just kind of a like natural like, hey, no, time to work on this specifically?
It's really weird how that all like panned out, because I was like circling back, I was teaching in the day, like from like 8 to like 7 p.m. or like 8 p.m. and then I'd come home and then work on Berserk Boy up until like silly o'clock in the morning. And it was sort of like I really want to get like into a comfortable spot where I can work on Berserk Boy without having to like teach as many hours as I was. So as soon as the pandemic hit is when we started pushing towards getting publisher support. And so it's sort of like all clicked around the pandemic, where so as soon as the pandemic happened, we had support to work on Berserk Boy like more hours basically. So it just sort of just happened.
It's been, I think, the common answer for at least the last couple of developers I've asked about this, that it very much was kind of the like, well, it's good opportunity to go full time on this.
Yeah, no, that's very fair.
So I guess within the publisher thing, I don't know how much you can or want to talk about it, but you had a kind of big-ish setback in regards to that and had to like make a new Steam page. And I'm curious about like what you can tell me about what happened there. And again, fully you can just say no. And I'll cut like whatever out. But like how much was lost? How much did you have to go through beyond just like, well, I have no idea. I have no idea how that kind of thing works on the back end.
Oh yeah, no, that's totally fair. So yeah, there was some Steam shenanigans going on with some people we were working with, and obviously, not to go into too much detail, but yeah, we ended up not having a Steam page for I think it was 9 months. Yeah, so it was a pretty rough 20. I think it was 2022.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a very like, oh, is this project ever going to get finished sort of thing. But luckily, I think in 2023, I think it was, SMG were kind enough to sort of, we got in talks, and they sort of like sorted everything out. They, helped us get a Steam page and get the game up and running, and sort of like get us dev kits for the Switch, and just help us see the game to the finish line, basically.
Okay. So they're based out of Australia. Did they have much of a presence in Japan, or how'd you get in contact with SMG?
Yeah, so I know Ash from SMG. And yeah, he's just a super nice dude. I didn't know if he was just like saying nice things, but he said he'd help out, and he actually really did. So like he really did help out. It was like I just told him like, hey, Berserk Boy's in a rough spot, and we chatted a bit, and then he said, hey, I can help you, and he did. So that's pretty. It's a really weird one when I think about it, because if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have been able to launch the project.
Oof. I don't know. I just every time I hear about that kind of issue, I'm just like, oh, that's got to be killer.
Yeah.
I guess as part of that, on a more like tangible scale, how much did you have for like wish lists and follows from beforehand, if you even know the numbers for that, and how long did it take to get back up to those numbers? And then I guess you might as well, if you're willing to answer, like where are you at now as far as pre-launch hype?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we had the page up for a year when we lost it, maybe just slightly over a year, and I think it was like quite low. It was like 12,000 when we lost it, and then it came back, and then it sort of shot up to 20,000 and then Steam Next Fest happened. Oh, sorry, there was a bit of time in between before Steam Next Fest, but now we're just shy of 40,000.
Ooh.
So, yeah,
That's good numbers.
It shot up. Like I'm really happy because I thought it was just like the algorithm would not want to pick this game up. It's been like dead, and nothing's happened to it for so long. But everyone was so nice to re-wish list and share it around, and obviously like yourself, you're even like interviewing me now and stuff like that. So it's just super appreciated. So
yeah, I definitely remember for 2022 kind of wondering like, yeah, I thought Berserk Boy was coming out, and then I saw you post sometime last year saying like, hey, we had to make a new page, go re-wish list it, and I was like, oh, there it is, that's good.
Yeah.
I think it does help that there aren't a whole lot of kind of overt Mega Man-y style games coming out. There are a couple of them, but there aren't a whole lot that really like hit the vibe correctly, and so I think there's quite a lot of like energy behind like, yeah, it's nice to have a cool looking Mega Man adjacent game coming out. And so
it's glad. I really hope people don't think it's like too close to it, or don't get offended when it's not close enough to it. It's really difficult because I don't know what people expect.
I think it's pretty easy. Like as soon as you pick the game up, you're like, oh, look, it's kind of in that vein, but it's so different. Like there isn't a point where I'm just like, man, I wish this was like more Mega Man or less Mega Man, because it's just not.
Oh, brilliant. Awesome then.
So I guess the other question, to go back to the team thing briefly, is you have T. Lopez, or is it T. Lopes? I actually have never heard it pronounced. But you have him as your composer?
Yeah. It's I think it's T. Lopes, so I think the Z is Lopez, and then
got it. Yeah, it makes sense.
I had to ask him as well. T is composing on Berserk Boy. He's been working on it since I think pretty much like a couple of months after inception, which is insane.
Wow.
It's really cool. It's like been a whole journey of like the ups and downs sort of thing. But I posted like some artwork on Twitter, like a mock-up stage, and T commented on it, and I reached out. I was like, hey, thanks for the comment. This blah, it's not a full thing yet, but when it is, can I show you and stuff like that? And he was just like, yeah, sure. Let me know. And then I was like, hey, it's a thing now. And then he just sent me a track. I was like, does this work for it? And then, it was like a pretty good pairing, because he seemed interested in the project. So stuck around and asked about it. So yeah, it was really good.
Okay. Yeah, it was just the tagline of like, has the Sonic Mania composer. And now he's got like Penny's Big Breakaway, and I swear, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Holy smokes, this guy's got quite the list now. So you must have like linked up with him pretty early in that. Like
super early.
Okay. I don't know. I guess that's got to feel really cool, having somebody who's also kind of blowing up on the side, working with you. So has he had most of the soundtrack done this entire time, or has it still kind of been crystallizing over the years?
So T actually is like he actually just like cooked up a whole like new mastered set and like remixes out of the blue not so long ago, and
dang.
It was just like, hey Zoo, I have like these tracks and they sound even better now, and I want to put them in the game. It's like, okay, sure. And then he hit me up with like some remixes with some awesome composers. I don't know if they've publicly announced it yet. I don't know if they want to do that themselves, so I'll wait until the game's out. But he got some great composers to do some remix tracks as well, which are in the game. So
wow.
He's just been like cooking when he has some downtime as well on it, I think.
Yeah, I've been playing, and I've definitely been jamming the whole time. Some games I turn down the soundtrack for, but this one's I'm like, yeah, no, I'd buy the soundtrack for this. I'd listen to it on my own.
Awesome.
I guess as I said earlier, I never played the Zero games, but I did listen to the soundtracks a lot, and so he managed to kind of hit that same vibe. and so that's been nice to listen to. And so I'll have to look up. Do you know if you're launching with the soundtrack as like a bundle on Steam, or am I going to have to hunt for it on my own?
So we sort of planned it out. So the soundtrack will be coming out. Steam date, I haven't announced that yet, but it will be available for like streaming digitally on day one. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. I might actually have to ask for like a cup. Wait, no, I can just pull it from the game. I was gonna be like, oh, I need the music for this interview, and it's like, no,
dude,
I'll just
I
match
can
it with the
send
game.
you some. I can send you some tracks though if you want to use it for the.
You know, in retrospect, I might actually just turn off the sound effects and just use whatever I have for the recording in the background that people have been watching this entire time. I was like, wait a second, no, I have got an easier setup, and I don't have to waste your time.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just kind of bouncing down the rest of my list. So with kind of this whole setback thing, obviously you have to kind of build yourself back up again. I assume your social media was still untouched.
Yeah, social media was all me. Luckily.
Yeah.
I would have been super sad if that went as well, because that was like the community that had been there from like the very start and everything. So luckily that was all intact, and everyone was super understanding, like on Twitter and Discord and whatnot. So yeah, that was all okay.
Okay. Did you? I guess as part of all of this, so I know you have a fair bit of Twitter following, and I know you have a number of like 1,000 people on Discord, which is fairly sizable. Did you do like much specifically for gathering that, or is it just purely, hey, I'm making a really cool game and people just kind of gravitated towards that? Or did you do anything like specific for marketing?
I don't think I used to. I'd say my only thing that would propel any page into like getting more attention would be I posted a lot of like work in progress content, like whether it's just pixel art, whether it's game footage. It was just I sort of like made a routine to post frequently about the game.
So just pure natural gravity for the most part, and consistency.
Yeah. I like to. I think so. I don't think I did anything too wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always curious about this because indie games always have struck me as having a bit of a marketing problem. I mean, the industry and Steam and I mean pretty much every platform is packed, and it's always just like, okay, so how was your game successful? Oh, you made a good game. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's very, very, very fair.
Yeah.
It's really different about that.
So I guess the other thing as part of that is kind of marketing-y. You did a lot of conventions. Like you've got a whole section on your webpage about this. Was that kind of like a game plan, or is it just like, hey, this convention's local, or this lines up with, going back home to visit family or something? Or is it like, yeah, I'm gonna go to a bunch of trade shows and have like a Berserk Boy booth?
I didn't do any events for a while, and then suddenly it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this game is real. I better start like making it look real by going to events. So that was the first like initiative to do it. But after a while, it just sort of became like, I want to see my friends at these events. So
fair enough.
I'm gonna make an conscious effort to get to an event so I can just hang out with my friends, really.
So you've got a fair bit of game developer friends?
I'd say I have like I would like everyone. Like there's like a Discord group, or like people you vent all your issues to, or so why won't this work, or we have like a nice sort of like support group as well. So yeah, and whenever there's a chance to sort of hang out in real life and not over Discord and stuff, it's always I always jump on that, really.
Okay. Let's see. Was there a convention that specifically you enjoyed above all else? Were there any that you were like, maybe not this one again?
I really enjoyed Gamescom.
Really?
It was pretty crazy. It was good. There was a lot going on. It was busy. The booth was good, and I really enjoyed Bit Summit as well in Kyoto. Just purely because of like the atmosphere was so fun. It's quite intimate as well. There's not like a it's not huge, so you can basically talk to everyone there if you really want to.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just good. Good. Those two are really stand out to me as like good events.
I'll have to make a trip to. I don't know if I'll ever do Bit Summit just because of distance, but I'll have to try Gamescom at some point because I've gotten invited like once or twice. But I'm like, I don't want to be on a plane that long. I don't.
Oh, dude, do it. It's worth it. Do it.
Okay. I haven't been much for travel since COVID started, so it's just kind of like, maybe someday I'll get brave enough and try some. But yeah, I guess
totally fair.
I guess I will look into Gamescom for
Yeah.
when I'm up for it. Let's see. Because yeah, I've heard good things about that convention, but I've never looked into it just because it's like timing and scheduling.
It's far, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The flights. Are you headed to PAX at all? I think it's like in March. It's in March, right?
I wasn't planning on it. I probably should, considering my parents live like 10 miles away, but...
two birds, one stone.
Yeah. So do you have any other like convention showings? Is PAX East going to be on your list, or is it just a idle question?
No, yeah, PAX East is actually it's my like I'm going not just as a consumer though. I want to just like go and just walk around and have no stress. Like I don't want to stand over a table and I don't want to I don't want to shake and want to say to the player, please do this, but I have to hold it in. All those feelings, so I can just like sort of relax and just enjoy myself.
Yeah, makes sense. Having only ever been on the consumer side, being there for 4 days is brutal. I can't imagine what it's like being an exhibitor.
Yeah, your legs start hurting, right? I mean, walking around is bad as well, but
yeah,
at least you're seeing things.
Yeah, the last PAX I went to was West in 2019. I remember by the end of it, my wife's cousin was like, "Hey, let's go on a hike," and I'm like, "I've been walking for like 6 hours plus a day, just on my feet. It hurts to touch ground. Can we just sit on a beach or something? Because that would be so nice."
Yeah, it's no joke.
Yeah, it's you're never ready for it, or at least I'm not. But yeah, maybe I'll look into it. Problem is, I'm going on vacation like 2 weeks later, and it's like timing and scheduling. But
always plays out like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So I guess the other kind of more back end question I had was part of the PR contacts that I had with Berserk Boy leading up to its launch has been through Lost in Cults. And up until now they've been doing just like kind of physical paraphernalia and cool books and stuff. How did you link up with them? Was that through Ryan specifically, or did they just reach out to you directly as a like, hey, we want to do PR work for you?
So it's a bit of both actually. So I met Ben, who runs Lost in Cult in Japan, and we were just like hanging out and talking. And then I've known Ryan for a long time anyway, and then he like got a job at Lost in Cult, and Ben did tell me that they were like venturing into game marketing and sort of more PR side of stuff. And yeah, I just thought, it sounds like I like their work. I like their books and stuff. They're really cool. So yeah, let's do it. Let's work together on some marketing stuff. And it's been great so far. So yeah, and it's nice that I know someone else who works there like personally prior to having like a working relationship.
So did you meet them through conventions again, or is it through like one of the regular meetups?
Yeah, that was a convention. It was Bit Summit actually. I met Ben at Bit Summit, and then I met Ryan actually at Gamescom the year prior. So I met them both at events at different occasions, but we kept in touch just over like Discord between that time.
I was curious because I've been working with Ryan for the last X number of years when he was at Super Rare, and so Yeah, so seeing you specifically pop up on his like, hey, we're doing PR work for Berserk Boy and also maybe doing some publishing things sooner than later. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's I don't know, it's neat to see kind of from the opposite side of like, yeah, you guys meeting up on the convention, then I get to see kind of the end result of like two groups that I've been following for a while linking up and doing some work. So I guess for both them and SMG, what kind of support services do they do for you? Like how much extra, I don't even know, what kind of perks do you get out of working with both SMG and Lost in Cult?
Yeah, it's a good question. So firstly, SMG, I've been working with them for just over a year now, and they've provided like all the support in terms of like getting my game back, providing anything we need basically for development, if that's funds for trailers or dev kits or QA and stuff like that. So they're very like in the development side of things, like they'll help out if it's needed. And then Lost in Cult, we started work together from the start. I think it was February. So they handle like the final push. So obviously the marketing super, as you were saying earlier as well, it's super important for indies especially to like sort of get out there. And they've been helping out with like obviously outreach, and now we're chatting as well. So yeah, it's pretty great. They help out with like spreading the word and like
reaching out to creators. I know that much.
Yeah. Using like, I think it's more like I think they use like their personal connections as well, which is pretty cool. And it's all like talked through me as well. Like, hey, do you know this person? Do you want to do? I was like, when I saw Wanderbot, I was like, yep.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been really nice, and I'd probably recommend devs to sort of like think about it more, just because it does take that like final bit of burden off, because you're not thinking about like who. You're not cold emailing everyone on the last day sort of thing.
Yeah, that is the worst experience from what I've heard. Trying to last minute email like as much PR people as possible, being like, "Hey, my game's coming out next week. Please cover it."
Yeah, exactly. That was like my biggest fear. So, I'd also say if like you're a developer and you're launching a game or something, do try get your builds ready maybe like a month. I know it's hard to say, but like a month in advance, so whoever is handling this outreach or PR can actually have something tangible for people to like play and review, because like people want time, I think, to review these games too. Right? Yep. I don't think like one day is enough to
not even close
cover the game. So that's probably my only advice.
I was talking to some of my friends about this yesterday, actually, where we're like, we used to be so focused on like launch day, because that's when we got the keys and everything was like super rigidly like you only get access to the game like maybe 24 hours before the game launches. And now, gosh, what was it? Well, I mean, Final Fantasy VII R2 came out today. I've had access to that for like half a month now, and I've just been playing it on my own, which is very nice. But like that's just not something. Yeah, but that's just not something that ever happens or happens up until like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Now developers are, at least a number of them, seem to be quite ready for launch. So I guess within that, how long has Berserk Boy been functionally complete? Because I know I could potentially beat it now myself if I had the time, but. Has it been like mostly feature complete for a while and just kind of polishing, or is there any like last minute additions where you're like, oh, I need to get this in?
I'd love to say it's been like ready and just sat and polishing this whole time, but it's always like every time up until like I think like a week or two ago, I was still submitting patches to Nintendo and updating the Steam build because like something slipped through, right? So I'd say like in a state where it could go out, I'd say like maybe a month or two, but the work on it has gone up until like probably like last week. Just like small tweaks though, not like big content updates or anything.
Makes sense. And you've probably got bugs that you still keep finding and zapping.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like, it's the worst when you go to sleep. I remember I went to sleep and I was telling some like my friends and I told my wife like, hey, today's the day. I'm done. Berserk Boy work is done. I'm free. And then like I think I got a message the morning after like, hey, there's a bug here that deletes my save. I was like, stop.
Oh,
No, yeah, it's just those things that are just. Ugh.
those bugs are the worst. I've had a couple of games where it deletes my save, and I'm like, well, that game is now dead to me. So
Right,
why'd you fix that one?
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, nothing is worse than having you get your save gone.
Yep.
So that's been fixed. Yeah, I touch wood, nothing crazy at launch.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed pretty
Yeah.
stable to me. I don't think I had a single issue in the couple hours I was playing yesterday.
Brilliant.
So, I guess you said you were sending patches to Nintendo. How long does it take for them to like certify that? And I guess as part of it, what was the decision specifically to co-launch on Steam and Switch? Because it's usually Steam first and then Switch later for most other games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always really wanted to do a sim launch. Just because I feel like Berserk Boy sort of belongs on handheld as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you played
yeah.
Mega Man Zero. Go figure.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe that's probably why. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. That's probably it. I just felt like it belonged there. But in terms of like, did you ask how long it takes for Nintendo to?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Normally, this is probably why it takes so long for patches to be done on Nintendo side. They ask for upwards of 2 weeks or so. They need to verify a lot of things. It's quite strict. They test rigorously. You can't just like submit a patch and it's submitted. There's some testing. So yeah, without I don't know the exact amount of numbers. It does change depending on like what it is, but you do need like set aside a bit of time, and normally the patch comes later on the Switch or consoles, right?
Okay. And did you at all like consider releasing on other consoles, or is that like a post-launch thing?
Yeah, it's definitely in like consideration. We originally had plans to launch on Xbox and PlayStation as well, but with some of the stuff that happened with Steam and all those shenanigans, we had to dial it back a little bit and just like focus on Steam and Switch. But yeah, if the interest is there and if it, people want it on those consoles, yeah, 100%. I'll start the works for that, I guess.
Okay. So is kind of your long-term plan at the moment mostly just like launch the game, fix whatever needs to be fixed? Do you have much for like content that you want to add after the fact? Or is it mostly just maybe console ports and then start gearing up to work on something new?
So at the moment, yeah. So it's essentially the first thing you said at the moment is bug fixing and stuff. And when it's at like a stable state where things are like super, the game is good. Yeah, I do want to do some sort of DLC, maybe like a small free one or a chunk of a big paid one. These are all just ideas, though. Obviously, I'll have to see post-mortem of launch. But yeah, I also want to start a new project. I have ideas to work on new things past Berserk Boy as well.
Do you got any hints about what you want to work on, or is it very close to the chest at the moment?
Oh yeah, it's nothing. It's not even worth saying, because probably in like a month it'll be something different. So,
what's your ideation process? Just like take a vacation, play as many games as you miss, or all the games you missed out on that you really wanted to play, and then be like, "This is the one," or is it much more like work on things until something clicks?
That's pretty much that. I want to try and get naturally inspired. By playing, I have felt that feeling a few times playing a couple of games here and there. Like, oh, it's just something I'd really like to do, or I'd really like to make a game in this genre. Or, but yeah, I want to do that. I want to get naturally inspired by playing stuff and digesting like different types of media, and then start working on something, I guess.
Okay. Let's see. What else did I have? Do you have a list of features and ideas that didn't make it into Berserk Boy that you wanna use? Like, I know I do some writing on the side for like D&D campaigns and whatnot, so I can run them. And every once in a while, I'm like, okay, this idea needs to be cut, but I'm saving it, so I save as like a whole new file of like, hey, this is the one thing I want to save for this other campaign. Did you do that, or is it pretty much everything you wanted it to be?
So that. Yeah, that's also very cool. I do a similar thing like that as well. It's not D&D, sorry. That's just like keeping those ideas like on the side. But yeah, there are a few things that didn't make it in. I wanted to have like scrolling set piece bosses really bad. Like you're like on a, you know what I mean? Like you're on a train or something and there's big limbs come in and stuff. I really wanted to have something like that, which I will get into a game. And also, I really wanted to have swordplay in the game, but then I thought the amount I want to put in for the swordplay warrants like a sequel or like a different game. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'd say the main thing would be I'd wanted massive set piece bosses, and I really want to do that one day.
Okay. I will say those tend to be quite impressive, but yeah, I gotta imagine that's like 10 times more work than you're locked in one room with a guy or a weird tunneling snake or a spider thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they're so much more involved, right, to make it convincing as well. So
yeah. Okay. Let's see. Do I have anything else? No, not over much. I think we've cleared my questions.
Sweet.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still kind of in this like learning how to interview people properly, and so like I hit the end of my questions. I'm like, oh no, now what do I do?
Just deadpan silence.
Yeah,
from both of us.
I could do that, but that's. I mean, that would be really bad. Easier for me to acknowledge my my deficiencies and laugh about it. Let's see. So I guess to wrap back to the Japan thing, so your plan is to stay in England for a little while, probably while you're finishing up Berserk Boy.
Yeah, definitely here to launch, and then there's a lot of like there's a lot of steps to move back, so there's that going on. So I'd say I'm actually going back to Japan in May. Sorry, so I'll be there for like a few months, and then I'll be there over the summer as well, and then. So it'll be back and forth for a bit, and then deciding whether to move everything back.
Is that all for convention stuff, paperwork, or just fun?
Fun.
Yeah, fair.
And some paperwork, but mainly I just want to enjoy myself.
Okay. So is that kind of your intended like, hey, I've finished a whole dang game, go on vacation for a while, really just chill?
Yeah. That's honestly it. Yeah, I just want to experience things without having in the back of my mind, oh, I got to go home and do this, or like, without that dread of like, if I stop working on the game for too long, will I ever be able to work on it again? I better work on it now, sort of thing. So, yeah, just want to go and just relax.
Was that something you had to worry about during the development, where like you did take a break and it was hard to come back to, or did it just have enough gravity that you just naturally came back?
Honestly, I didn't let it get to that point where I find out, and I know that's probably not something you should do. I don't know. I'm sure everyone feels it in some way or another, but I'd get like really antsy if I was away from the project for more than like 24 hours.
Wow.
So. Yeah, it's strange. I don't know what was the cause of it, but we're almost at the end, so I can like pretend it never happened.
Let's see. Anything else? No, not too much. I guess so I guess Berserk Boy's out on the 6th, right? On both Steam and Switch? And it's $20, right?
Yeah, it will be launching with a discount. 10%. So
yeah, that's pretty standard. Yeah. I'd be surprised if it was anything else. Do you know, since it's coming out on Steam, is it coming out on the Steam Deck or no?
Yeah, it's totally playable on the Steam Deck.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't got the verification thing yet, but it's totally playable on the Steam Deck. I actually played through it from start to finish on the Steam Deck, and I actually think it plays like flawlessly on there. So
good to know. I need to dust off my Steam Deck more often, but I can't record anything on it, so it's killer. But it's always nice to see, like, if I wanted to, if I was traveling, I could pull out my Steam Deck and actually do things. And let's see. I guess one other question is, since you wanted to play it handheld, do you prefer like Switch undocked or Switch Lite undocked?
Oh, as in terms of like personally playing games, or
yeah, why not?
Oh,
either
personally, yeah, I like playing games. If I had it my way, I could play everything handheld.
Okay.
I like being horizontal and playing video games. I'm old now.
Yeah.
So,
no, I can see that.
I can't like. I mean, I have it in me to like sit up and really play. But yeah, if I could, I'd play everything handheld, like sort of like on the sofa.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I bought a really nice couch, like pre-pandemic, but it was sitting in my cold living room because I was out in Oregon, and for whatever reason, all of like the heat vents in my house were upstairs, and so you'd like go downstairs and the temperature would drop like a solid, I don't know how many degrees Celsius, but you would have to go from like t-shirt and shorts to bundled up. So we just poor couch sat down there for like a couple years. We moved into a new apartment a year ago, and my living room is my office, and it has my nice big couch, and so I'm just like, oh, sweet, I have a day off, time to just, be horizontal.
Making it for lost time.
Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome, that's fun.
Well, I think I'll leave us with that. Two guys that probably want to go play some games horizontally for a while, and I will say very much I am looking forward to playing more Berserk Boy when I get the chance to do so, and I hope people listening to this are doing so as well. And I guess I might as well repeat that Berserk Boy is out now on Steam and Switch, so if people want to go pick it up, follow the link in the description below. But thank you so much, Zoo, for joining me today. It was very kind of you. It was very it was a ton of fun talking as well.
Yeah, mate, thank you very much for having me and playing Berserk Boy and talking to me. I had a lot of fun too. Yeah, it was really fun.
Thank you. Okay, and that's it for the interview. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I have. Like I said, I think in the interview itself, this is still very much a work in progress. I don't exactly have a whole lot of formal training in how to do interviews, but I think I'm getting better and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. It's just nice talking to developers for once, rather than just playing their games, and it's kind of cool to see all the background details that you wouldn't learn normally, you wouldn't learn otherwise, and so I'm getting a lot of stuff that I would normally never have gleaned out of just playing a game. Anyway, so to repeat what I said at the very beginning of this video, Berserk Boy is out now on Steam and Switch. So if you want to pick it up, I will leave a link in the description below to, I guess, both of those. And I've been playing it a fair bit off camera, and it's fairly fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm just really bad at it. I keep falling into pits, and I cannot escape that. But it is what it is. Anyway, with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.